If you want to retire with enough money to actually live life on your own terms, I'm talking like, traveling, spending real time with your grandkids, or finally doing that thing that you've been putting off forever, instead of just grinding it out until 65 and then realizing, oh shoot, your knees don't work like they used to, your energy's gone, or you basically spent what could have been the best decade of your life just chained to a desk for money that you'll probably barely even touch. You're gonna love hearing what retiring at 55 can actually do for you. If you're new here, I'm Jason. So I'm like someone who did the math, made the hard choices, and I actually retired 9 years ago at 39 with my wife. Now we're spending half the year traveling. And as you might be able to see behind me, we're in Asia right now. And that right there, 101. We could have never done this if we waited until 65. We just couldn't have. Because here's the truth that nobody talks about, and I mean nobody. That decade from your mid-50s to your mid-60s, it's not guaranteed, man. Your knees still work, maybe. Your energy's still kind of there, maybe. You can actually hike Machu Picchu or spend weeks exploring Southeast Asia without your body just completely wrecking you for weeks after. But if you've been telling yourself that you're retired at 62 or 65, I gotta tell you why the math might actually be working against you. Why retiring 5 or 10 years earlier might honestly be the best life and financial decision you could ever make. Check out the name of that fried chicken place over there. Only in Asia do you see things like that. So let me start with this. Why did 62 and 65 become these magic numbers anyway? Because honestly, most people never really think about it. They just accept it, They assume that those ages are the right answer because, well, that's when Social Security kicks in. That's when Medicare starts, and everybody around them is planning for those same years. But here's the thing that nobody actually asks. What retirement age gives you the best life? Not the most money, the best life. When do you actually get to enjoy it? See, I have this friend Steve, really smart guy, and we've known him for years. Steve worked in tech, made great money, and he always said that he'd retire at 65. That's what his number was, 65. He had it written down somewhere. He had it locked in his head. And I remember, this was a couple years back, we're having coffee and I'm like, Steve, why 65? And he just looks at me with this blank expression for a second. And he's like, well, because that's when you're supposed to retire. I mean, that's literally it. He never actually sat down and thought about whether that was right for him or not. He just accepted it, just took the default setting, And that haunted me because I realized that's what most of us just do. We just inherit somebody else's retirement age instead of designing our own. We're letting the government's timeline dictate what should be the best decade of our lives. So I'm curious, have you actually sat down and asked yourself why you picked your retirement age? Is it because that's genuinely what works for you? Or is it just the default that everyone assumes? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. So here's what research actually shows. There's this framework that breaks retirement into 3 phases. And this matters because it shows how your life actually changes as you get older. The first phase is what they call the go-go years. That's roughly your late 50s to early 70s. You've still got the knees, the lungs, the energy. You can take those bucket list trips. We're doing this right now, actually. My wife and I, we decided to go hard with the travel right now while we're still in our 40s. We usually slow travel through Southeast Asia for winter. And we also spent 6 weeks in Mexico one year. We hiked and we traveled and we just said yes to things that we would never have said yes to when we were still working, Your body at this stage is let's go. We can still do this. If you're in your 50s to mid-60s, you can run around with your grandkids and actually keep up with them, not just sit there watching from the sidelines. But if you work until 65, you're cutting into those go-go years. You're eating up the decade when it feels the easiest to do all the things that you dreamed about. And the second phase is what they call the slow-go years. That's when life just slows down. Your energy dips. International trips don't sound quite as appealing anymore. Flights take longer. Recovery takes days instead of hours. And then there's the no-go years, typically late 70s and beyond. That's when your world just naturally gets smaller. Adventure kind of takes a back seat to comfort. And here's what matters. If you work until 65, you're gambling, man. You're betting that you'll still have the energy and health for the go-go years when you're already in them. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes that decade just passes you by. Real quick, I went from working my tail off for 2 decades, wondering if I would ever actually have time for my own life, to living on my own terms at 39, spending half the year traveling with my wife. If you want to understand the exact path to get here, subscribe to this channel now. I break down the strategies that actually work, and I'm not going to sugarcoat the reality of what early retirement demands from you. Because honestly, you need both the hope and the hard truth to make this work. All right, so let me tell you what happened with Steve, because this is where it gets real. So Steve decided to run the numbers with someone who knew what they were doing. And when they mapped out his lifestyle, when they actually attached real price tags to the things that he wanted to do, well, he realized something shocking. He could retire at 56, not 65. 56. He had enough. And he was just about ready to trade away 9 extra years of his peak life for money that he'd probably just leave to his kids anyway. So he quit the next month. But here's what most people miss, and this is big. When you work until 65 because it feels safer, you're not just working longer, you're trading. Like, you're trading stress, you're trading your peak health, you're trading time with aging parents, you're trading time with your spouse when you actually have the energy to enjoy being with them. You're trading experiences that you can only have when your body still cooperates. And what do you get? A lot of times, just money sitting there. Money that you don't actually need. Money that becomes a number in a portfolio instead of memories with the people that you love. So, here's how this actually works. When my wife and I sat down to figure out if retiring at 39 was even real for us, we didn't start with a number. We started with our life. Like, what does retirement actually look like for us? We knew that we wanted to travel, not sit at home, not have some tiny little retirement. We wanted to move around, spend extended time in places, really experience countries instead of just hitting tourist check boxes, you know? So we built what I call a lifestyle blueprint, and some people call it lifestyle design, whatever. We asked ourselves, what can we do in retirement that we can't do right now? Where do we want to live? What trips matter the most? Are we hikers? Are we foodies? Do we want to help charities? Do we want to support our aging parents when the time comes? We mapped out what our 40s, 50s, 60s, and even our 70s would feel like in a real way. And only after we knew what we wanted did we attach price tags to it. Not guesses, like real research, real numbers from real travel, real hotels, and real flights. And then we looked at something that blew my mind, the cost of working. See, most people never even think about this. Just having a job costs money. We've got gas, parking, clothes, those business lunches, convenience spending because you're exhausted. All that disappears when you retire. And for a lot of high income earners, that can be like $2,000 to $5,000 a month that just evaporates. Money that you can finally put towards the priorities that actually enhance your life. Check that out. This is some good stuff here, guys. Check this out. A lot of good street food here in Taiwan, guys. Now, in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you the 3 specific ways to actually fund early retirement without touching your retirement accounts and without penalties. See, there's this rule that almost nobody knows about that can be a total game changer if you're retiring in your 50s. When we ran our numbers, we realized something powerful. The spending in early retirement isn't what people think. Yeah, most people travel more at first, but research shows that retirement spending actually declines about 1.5% per year. Not because you're restricting yourself, but because life just, it changes. You eventually travel less, you pick simpler activities, you eat out a little less, your rhythm slows down. Your go-go decade is expensive decade, not all of retirement. So we buckled down. We ran the math. And we found that we could retire at 39 without sacrificing a single part of the dream. And we did it. We packed up, we told our jobs that we were done, and we've been on this adventure ever since. And right now, again, we're in Taiwan, and we'll be in Asia for 5 months total. We'll maybe be island hopping in the Philippines, exploring, eating at little street food stalls, staying in modest hotels. After Taiwan, we plan to spend a month in Cambodia visiting Darby's family. We'll probably go to Vietnam, maybe Malaysia, and then we're planning to visit Japan again in March, just like last year. Then we'll come home and reset. Then we'll start planning again for next year. And I want you to understand something. This isn't like a one-time blowout trip. This is our life now. 50% of every year is us just living in different countries. Could we be doing all this if we were still working? Absolutely not. So here's the question I want you to sit with. What are you sacrificing by waiting 10 more years? Not just in money, but in health, in time with people that you love, in experiences that you can't do when you're 70 that you can do right now. Because that's the real cost of working until 65. Now, let me address the thing that scares people the most. How do you actually fund the years between retirement and when Social Security and Medicare kick in? Like, how do you access your money without getting crushed by penalties? Well, there's actually 3 legitimate ways to do this, and most people have no idea about them. The first is your taxable brokerage. This is what we're using right now. See, there's no penalties. You just pay capital gains tax on your gains when you sell positions, or tax on any dividends that you get. You have full access from day one. It's the most flexible account that you have. We're living off of this right now for a while our retirement accounts, well, they just keep growing. I also make a small income from my online affiliate business that I started before I retired. And we also hope to eventually generate a small stream of income from this YouTube channel. The second option is something called the Rule of 55. And this is the one almost nobody knows about. I mean, seriously, if you leave your job in the year that you turn 55 or later, you can take penalty-free withdrawals from your 401k, just from that year forward. No 10% penalty. The money's not locked up until you're 59 and a half. It's accessible right now. If you work for a company with a strong 401k plan, this could completely change the game for retiring in your 50s. And I actually made a previous video about the Rule of 55 if you want to check that out. The third option is called 72T distributions. And that sounds boring, I know, but it's actually powerful. It lets you pull from an IRA before you're 59 and a half without penalties as long as you follow a specific withdrawal schedule. And a lot of early retirees actually use this one, and when it's structured correctly, it can bridge like 5 to 10 years. See, once you know how to access your money safely, here's where it gets really interesting. Those early retirement years create this tax planning opportunity that people working until 65, they never get. Your income drops, your tax brackets drop, and suddenly you have massive control. You can do Roth conversions at lower tax rates. You can manage your capital gains strategically. You can control how much of your Social Security becomes taxable. And this is what we're doing right now. Our income is lower than it's ever been. That means that our tax bill is a fraction of what it used to be. And we're building more flexibility for when we're older. Let me be honest about something that does matter, and that's healthcare before 65. And this is the thing that's going to keep most of you up at night, right? But it's solvable when your income drops in early retirement. The Affordable Care Act becomes way more affordable than people think. Sometimes there's major subsidies. You've got COBRA for up to 18 months after you leave work. You have the option of going on Medicaid if you're in one of the 48 states that have expanded coverage. And the whole thing becomes just a line item in your budget. It's not a reason to chain yourself to a job that you're ready to leave. Check this out, guys. It's like Super Mario World here. Now, I want to come back to Steve for a second because his story doesn't end with him just retiring. 6 months after he quit, his health actually improved. No more stress. He and his wife started taking real trips together. They had energy again. They had time. The decision to leave early wasn't just a money thing. It was a life thing, you know? Here's what I want you to understand. That decade between 55 and 65 is the decade where you're at your absolute best. Your body still cooperates, your mind is still sharp, you've still got energy, you've got time, you've got money. All 3 of those things rarely line up perfectly. Most of us get them one at a time. But right here, right now, if you've done your savings and planning right, you can have all 3. So the real question isn't whether you can retire at 55, it's why wouldn't you? If this is making you think about your own retirement, if you're wondering whether the age that you plan for is actually the age that's best for you, I want to help you figure that out. So if you want more retirement insights, watch this next. I'll see you in the next one.